Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell, and in today's video we're going to look at driving forces. So if you remember from our previous video, we looked at Lewin's force field analysis, which identifies and analyzes both the driving and restraining forces. And in our study design, it then specifies a number of driving forces that you need to know and can be asked specifically about. So driving forces are those that either initiate or support a change within a business. They help push the business towards their new desired state. As I mentioned, there are specific forces listed in the study design, and we're going to go through each one in this video. One thing I wanted to point out before we begin is that as we go through each driving force, we'll look at how each can actually be a driving force within a business, but keep in mind these are examples only, not the only possible ways that that each force can actually be a driving force for change. So with that in mind, let's begin and get into the first one. So our first driving force is managers. Managers being those that make decisions within the business, and senior managers make decisions about the future direction of the business. So one way that managers can act as a driving force is when they review key performance indicator data or analyze the business in any way. That data or that analysis may show that the business is facing some issues, and the managers may then initiate changes in response. So managers can also look at ways to improve the business, which can then drive change within the business. So another way that managers can be a driving force is if they are really strong leaders and can support the business or the employees and the whole business through change. So it could be that they've got lots of experience in leading a business through change, or that they have the required skills to overcome resistance from employees and other stakeholders and lead the business through change towards the new desired state. That's another way that they can act as a driving force. Now, employees can often drive change when they invent new ways of doing things or new products. There's been many examples of, especially in the tech giants such as Google or Alphabet, Apple, Amazon. They've all had employees that have either invented new products or found new innovative ways to do something within the business that's driven the business to actually implement those changes. But employees can also place demands on a business to improve their conditions, their policies, or change their processes to improve the way that they actually operate or improve the conditions that the employees are actually working in. And that can drive business to change also to try and meet those employee demands. Now, it's important for businesses to monitor what their competitors are doing, as they are constantly competing for market share, and as a result, they can be a real driving force for business change. And so a competitor can drive a business to make changes in order to either maintain or gain a competitive advantage as they compete for customers. Could be that a competitor is releasing a new product, launches a new marketing campaign or something like that, or it could be even that a new competitor has entered the market, or a competitor has even implemented new technology that will greatly improve their efficiency in how they operate. So all these things can help drive a business to make changes themselves in order to keep up or even possibly stay ahead of their competitors as they fight for market share. And next driving force is legislation. So any changes in laws can force a business to implement changes to ensure that they're meeting all their legal requirements and not having to deal with fines and other legal matters. So I've got the example there of when the Australian government brought in legislation that forced companies such as Google or Facebook to pay for news content. So that's forced them to make their own changes in response to those new laws. And legislation can act as a driving force as it can impact the business and change the way that they need to operate, forcing them to make changes to ensure that they are really meeting those legal requirements. So a very common driving force is the pursuit of profit. So we're talking about businesses here that are aiming to actually increase their profits. We know that that's one of their main aims for most businesses. So a business can increase their profits by either increasing their revenues or by reducing their costs, or by being able to do both. So businesses will often implement changes in order to try and pursue those profits or increase those profits. It could be that they introduce a new marketing campaign or a new product to attract new customers. It could be that they change their processes to improve efficiency by implementing new technologies, for example, or they may decide to restructure or implement any other range of strategies or changes that will either increase their revenues or reduce their costs. So they're just some examples of how the pursuit of profit can actually drive a business towards change. Now, a driving force that's closely linked to the pursuit of profits is the reduction of costs. So all areas of a business will result in costs, which obviously impacts the amount of profit a business can actually produce. A change that will result in reduced costs can be a driving force because it supports a particular change. However, a The managers may also identify areas within the business that have significant costs and may initiate changes in order to try and reduce those costs. So businesses or managers can look at all areas of the business with the aim of reducing their costs, and that can be one of the key driving forces. Now, globalization is where economic boundaries are removed and a business can begin operating on a large scale in different locations. So globalization increases competition as international companies can now compete in Australia. This can drive a business to implement changes so that they can remain competitive against those global competitors. However, globalization also allows Australian businesses to take advantage of global markets and sell their products to international customers. So that can drive a business to implement change and alter the way that they sell or even produce their products. Globalization allows Australian businesses to use overseas suppliers, to actually move overseas and manufacture overseas, or to actually sell their goods overseas. So there's a whole range of strategies that businesses can implement, or changes that businesses can implement as a result of globalization. Technology is forever changing and probably changing at an increasing rate. So technologies can be a real key driving force for businesses to actually implement change because it can improve the way that they operate. So if a technology becomes available and can improve the processes within a business or alter the way that customers interact with that business, then it can drive that business to implement change and implement those technologies. For example, artificial intelligence as it increases in its capabilities, it may drive a business to implement AI in order to take advantage of its efficiencies or its ability to solve complex problems. Another example, the increase of cloud computing. It's dramatically changed the way that businesses operate and store their data. Businesses no longer need to spend money on having their own large servers on site. They can now use companies such as Amazon Web Services to store their data at a reduced cost and therefore work from the cloud, which enables them to collaborate and work remotely and those types of things. And as technology changes, it can drive businesses to implement changes in order to keep up with that technology and gain a competitive advantage. Our second last driving force is innovation, which is the adoption of something new or improving what already exists. So innovations can drive a business to change their processes or their products. For example, the innovation of self-driving car systems has driven car manufacturers along with other businesses such as Apple and Alphabet to make changes to their product ranges, which obviously changes supply chains and other production processes. So innovations can lead change within a business as they look to improve their processes or their products. And our final driving force within our study design is that of societal attitudes, which are constantly changing. So as attitudes of society changes, it can drive businesses to change with those attitudes to ensure that they remain relevant within society and within the community and their customers that they're trying to sell to. For example, society is far more aware of the impact that businesses can have on the environment and on the community in which they're living, and therefore are often looking for businesses to be more socially responsible. And that can drive change within a business to increase their social responsibility practices in order to remain relevant with their customers. So as society changes, it can drive change within a business in order to keep up with those societal attitudes. So that was a long one, I know. There's lots of driving forces that are listed in our study design that you need to know. So just to recap, the driving forces are those that initiate or support change within a business, and the driving forces that you need to know and need to be able to demonstrate how they can be driving forces within a business are managers, employees, competitors, legislation, pursuit of profit, and then reduction of costs, globalization, technology, innovation, and societal attitudes. So for questions, activities, and more, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.